My dad messaged me at 2 a.m. Take your sister and run. Never trust your mother. So I did. What if the person you trusted most, the one who was supposed to protect you, was actually your biggest threat? I found out at 2 a.m. when a text from my dad screamed, "Grab your sister and run. Don't trust your mother." That was the moment everything I thought I knew about my family, about my own mom, collapsed. My heart hammered against my ribs as those words burned into my eyes in the dark. Asterisk, grab your sister and run. Don't trust your mother. Asterisk, 3 short sentences that made no sense until they made all the sense in the world, in the most terrifying way imaginable. My dad was on a business trip in Seattle, as he always was, a predictable, professional man who never texted after 10 p.m. Never used urgent language. Never said anything that would alarm us. This message? It violated everything. It screamed that something had gone catastrophically, horrifically wrong. I was only 17, but old enough to know the difference between adult overreactions and genuine, bone-deep terror. This text? Pure, compressed terror, packed into 12 frantic words. I tore off my blankets, scrambling for clothes on the floor, jeans, a sweatshirt. My mind raced, trying to grasp what "don't trust your mother" could possibly mean. Mom was downstairs, in the living room where I'd left her an hour ago, watching some crime documentary, sipping wine, just like any other normal suburban mom. Nothing threatening. Nothing suspicious. But Dad wouldn't send that message without a reason. The specificity of grabbing my sister and running wasn't paranoia. It was immediate, undeniable danger. I shoved my feet into sneakers, grabbed my backpack, and dumped out all my school books. In went my laptop, my phone charger, and the $300 in emergency cash I'd always kept hidden in my desk drawer. I'd never really known why I kept it, but suddenly, it felt like the most important thing I owned. My 12-year-old sister, Becca, slept like a rock in the next room, completely oblivious. I crept down the hall, wincing as her door creaked open. She was buried under blankets, just a mess of dark hair visible, breathing deeply. Waking her quietly was going to be nearly impossible, but waking her loudly meant alerting Mom. And Dad's message had been crystal clear. Don't trust her. I knelt beside Becca's bed. My hand clamped over her mouth, and I shook her shoulder. Her eyes flew open, wide with panic. I felt her try to scream against my palm, a tiny, muffled cry. I pressed a finger to my lips, leaning close, whispering barely audibly into her ear. Dad sent an emergency message. We have to leave right now, without Mom knowing. I'll explain everything once we're safe, but you have to trust me and stay completely silent. Her huge, frightened, confused eyes searched mine, but she nodded against my hand. I released her, and she sat up, reaching for her glasses. I'd already pulled out jeans and a hoodie from her closet, thrusting them into her hands, gesturing frantically. She pulled them on over her pajamas, her hands shaking, and I stuffed her feet into the nearest shoes, not bothering with laces. Becca's window faced the backyard. I'd popped that screen free dozens of times to sneak out to meet friends. With practiced ease, it was off. 8 feet down to the garden. Not ideal, but manageable. I threw both our backpacks out first, watching them land with soft thuds in the mulch. Then I helped Becca through the frame. She hesitated, looking down at the drop with visible fear. I gripped her wrists, lowering her as far as I could, then let go. She fell the remaining 4 feet with a muted thump that sounded deafeningly loud in the quiet night. I followed immediately, dropping and rolling, my ankle twisting a little but holding. Becca just stared at me, a million questions in her eyes. But I grabbed her hand and pulled her towards the back fence. We had minutes, maybe seconds, before Mom checked on us or heard something suspicious. The privacy fence was 6 feet high. I scaled it, stepping on a decorative beam, pulling myself over, and dropping into the neighbor's yard. Becca struggled more, but I coached her, catching her when she dropped beside me. We ran through 3 backyards, our lungs burning, until we emerged onto a street 2 blocks from our house. Both of us breathing hard. Only then did I pull out my phone, rereading Dad's message, searching for anything I'd missed in my panic. 2:03 a.m. Sent 7 minutes ago. No follow-up. No missed calls. Just those 12 words, hanging in the digital space like a grenade. I tried calling him. Straight to voicemail. His professional, calm, outgoing message felt so jarringly wrong against the terror of his text. Becca tugged on my sleeve, her voice rising with panic. What does he mean? Don't trust Mom. What's happening? I showed her the text. Her face went bone white in the dim streetlight. I don't know yet. I lied, trying to sound calm, trying to sound in control. But Dad wouldn't say this unless it was serious. We need to get somewhere safe and figure this out. We were just standing there, two teenage girls on a residential street at 2 a.m., nowhere to go, no way to contact the one parent who'd warned us. My phone buzzed. A new text. From Mom. Where are you girls? I heard noises upstairs. The casual tone felt so off, like she was pretending nothing was wrong. Or, maybe from her perspective, nothing was. Maybe Dad's message was the aberration. But I kept hearing his words, feeling that urgency and specificity. Another text from Mom. This isn't funny. Come downstairs right now, or I'm calling the police. A strange threat. What would she tell them? That her teenage daughters had left the house at night? We weren't missing. We'd left. Unless she had reasons to want police involvement. Reasons to force us back under some kind of official authority. Becca started crying quietly, those scared tears that only come when your normal life explodes at 2 in the morning. I put my arm around her, and we just kept walking, heading for the 24-hour convenience store 3 blocks away. At least there would be lights. Witnesses. Some minimal safety, while I tried to figure out what the hell to do next. My phone kept buzzing, Mom's messages escalating from confused to angry, then truly threatening. The convenience store was practically empty, just a bored clerk glued to his phone. Becca and I huddled in the back, near the refrigerated drinks, trying to look normal. I called Dad again. Still voicemail. His phone was definitely off. I texted him, desperate for more information, explaining we'd gotten out, but needed to know what was going on. My phone rang. Mom. Her name on the screen felt like a physical blow. I stared at it through 3 rings, then answered, putting it on speaker so Becca could hear. Her voice, tight with barely controlled emotion, came through. Where are you? What's going on? I wake up and both my daughters are gone. Windows open. You're not answering texts. You're scaring me, honey. She sounded genuinely frightened. Confused. Nothing in her tone suggested danger. But Dad's message still echoed in my mind, that urgent, specific warning. Dad texted us, I said carefully, watching Becca's face. He said to leave the house and not trust you. We need to know why he'd say that. The silence on the other end stretched, heavy and suffocating. Then Mom laughed. A brittle, unsettling sound that made every hair on my neck stand on end. Your father texted you at 2 in the morning telling you to run away from me? That's insane. He's in Seattle at a conference, probably drunk at some hotel bar. He doesn't know what he's saying. But I'd never seen Dad drunk. Ever. He barely drank, even at parties. And that message hadn't read drunk. It had read terrified. Why would he specifically say not to trust you? I pushed. What's he afraid you're going to do? Mom's breathing got faster. Her voice hardened, becoming something cold and sharp. Listen to me very carefully. Your father is having some kind of mental break. He's been acting paranoid for weeks, saying strange things, accusing me of things that aren't true. I didn't want to worry you girls, but he's been seeing a therapist for delusions. Whatever he told you is part of that. You need to come home right now so we can handle this as a family. It sounded plausible. Almost. Except for the timing. If Dad had been delusional for weeks, why tonight? Why turn his phone off right after sending that text? And Mom's voice that sounded like she was performing concern, not genuinely feeling it. I looked at Becca. My own doubt mirrored in her eyes. I want to talk to Dad first, I said. I want to hear from him that he's okay and that the message was a mistake. Then we'll come home. Mom made a frustrated sound. I heard movement on her end, footsteps, the jingle of car keys.
Fine.
Stay where you are, and I'll come get you. We'll call Dad together from the car and sort this out. Where are you exactly? Every instinct screamed at me. Don't tell her. We're at a friend's house. We'll come home when we've talked to Dad. I hung up before she could respond, immediately powering off my phone, suddenly terrified of location tracking. Becca did the same, without me even having to ask. We were operating on the same frequency of profound distrust. The clerk was watching us now, openly suspicious. I grabbed 2 bottles of water, paid cash, trying to look normal and unhurried. We needed to move.
But where?
Dad's message just said run. Not a safe house, no contact number. As we left the store, Becca grabbed my arm, pointing back.
A car.
Driving slowly, headlights off, moving like it was hunting. Even from 2 blocks away, I recognized it. Mom's silver SUV, the one she drove to her real estate job and soccer practices. She was hunting us. She guessed or somehow tracked us. We ducked behind a parked truck, watching her cruise past, her profile visible through the window. Her face was illuminated by her phone screen, and the expression wasn't worried. It was a cold, calculating mask. She turned the corner. We sprinted in the opposite direction, staying low behind parked cars until we reached a bus stop shelter at the next major intersection. My phone, powered back on, immediately buzzed with Mom's frantic messages. But then, one from an unknown number. This is Special Agent Victoria Reeves with the FBI. Your father asked me to contact you if anything happened to him. Call this number immediately from a secure line. Do not go home. Do not trust local police. The words were so unexpected, so outside the realm of possibility, I read them 3 times before my brain accepted them. FBI. This wasn't just family drama. This was something bigger. Becca read over my shoulder. Her face went even paler. Why would Dad be talking to the FBI? What did Mom do? She whispered, asking the questions I couldn't voice. I called the number from the convenience store's payphone, my paranoia about phone tracking through the roof. A woman answered on the second ring, her voice professional, alert despite the hour. This is Agent Reeves. Who am I speaking with? This is Zoe Brennan, I said, my voice shaky. You sent a message about my father, Kevin Brennan. He texted us tonight telling us to leave our house and not trust our mother. We need to know what's happening. Agent Reeves was quiet for a moment. I heard a keyboard clicking, like she was pulling up files or verifying my identity. Then, the words hit me like physical blows. Your father has been cooperating with a federal investigation into financial crimes for the past 3 months. He discovered evidence that your mother is involved in a sophisticated fraud scheme, moving money through her real estate business. We've been building a case, but tonight our surveillance team lost contact with your father. His last communication was sending you that text message before his phone went dark. Mom wasn't just having marital problems. She was a criminal under federal investigation. Dad had been secretly working with the FBI against his own wife. And now something had gone horribly wrong. Where is he now? I demanded, gripping the payphone cradle to steady myself. Is he safe? Agent Reeves hesitated. We don't know. He was attacked in his hotel room tonight, but fought off his assailants and escaped. He's in protective custody. His last phone location pinged at the hotel, then went offline. Agents are checking, but his failure to communicate, combined with that text to you, suggests he believed himself to be in immediate danger. Becca was gripping my sleeve, her fingers digging in, listening to my half of the conversation with growing horror. What kind of danger? Why would Mom hurt him? Even as I asked, a flood of memories clicked into place. Mom's frequent, unexplained absences. Her defensive anger when Dad asked about her business accounts. The way she'd started password protecting everything on her phone and computer. The people your mother is working with, Agent Reeves continued, her voice grim, are not the kind to leave witnesses. If they learned your father was cooperating, he would become a liability to eliminate. And if they've gotten to him, you and your sister are potential witnesses who know his routines. That's why his message told you to run. The full, terrifying weight of the danger settled over me. We weren't running from normal family dysfunction. We were running from people who murdered witnesses to financial crimes. What do we do? Where do we go? Agent Reeves gave me an address for an FBI field office, 30 miles north. Get there as fast as you can. Don't use credit cards or your phones, except for emergency calls. If you see your mother or anyone suspicious, call 911 immediately. I'm dispatching agents to pick you up, but they're 45 minutes out. You need to stay hidden and moving until they arrive. I hung up, relaying everything to Becca. Her face cycled through disbelief, fear, then a grim, heartbreaking acceptance. 12 years old, and she was processing that our mother was a criminal, our father missing, potentially dead, and we were running from killers. It was too much for anyone, especially a kid who'd gone to bed thinking about homework and friend drama. A taxi company operated out of the strip mall across the street. We walked quickly, eyes constantly scanning for Mom's SUV. The dispatcher, half asleep, agreed to send a car. I gave him an address 2 blocks from the FBI office. Still paranoid, even about a taxi. 15 minutes later, a beat-up sedan pulled up. I handed the driver cash up front, asking him to drive carefully and avoid main roads. He gave me a strange look, but took the money. We'd made it maybe 3 miles when headlights appeared behind us, coming up fast. The taxi driver noticed and swore, accelerating slightly. Someone's been following us since we left. Probably drunk idiots playing games. But I twisted around. It was Mom's SUV, close enough to see her face through the windshield, set and determined. That's our mother, I told the driver, my voice dead calm. She's dangerous. We need to lose her.
Now.
He looked at me like I was insane. Then Mom's SUV rammed us from behind, hard enough to throw both Becca and me forward against the front seats. The driver swore louder, flooring it. The old taxi responded sluggishly as Mom hit us again. We were on a semi-rural road with minimal traffic, exactly the wrong place for this. Mom pulled alongside us. I could see her clearly now. Her face was twisted into something I didn't recognize. She was trying to force us off the road, her SUV a heavy, powerful weapon. The driver was panicking, swerving wildly, trying to keep control while Mom repeatedly slammed into our passenger side. Becca was screaming. I was on the phone, calling 911, shouting our location, our situation, to a dispatcher who kept asking me to slow down and repeat myself. One more hard slam, and the taxi spun out, rotating twice before sliding into a shallow ditch. We were flung around inside, seatbelts barely holding. My head hit the window hard, stars exploding behind my eyes. Mom's SUV screeched to a halt. I watched her climb out, walking toward our crashed taxi with chilling purpose. The driver was slumped over the wheel, dazed or unconscious. Becca was sobbing. I grabbed her hand, kicked open the door on the far side, and dragged her out, scrambling into the drainage ditch that ran alongside the road. We ran through brush and darkness, Mom's shouts echoing behind us. Girls, stop. I'm trying to protect you. The FBI is lying. Your father is lying. I just need to talk to you. But her actions screamed louder than her words. She wasn't trying to protect us. She was trying to get us. The ditch led to a culvert under the road. We crawled through, emerging on the far side, muddy and scraped. Behind us, sirens wailed, approaching fast. Mom must have heard them too, because her shouting stopped. I heard her SUV engine roar, tires squealing as she fled the scene. Police cars arrived moments later, lights flashing, officers jumping out. We emerged from the culvert, hands raised, shouting that we'd called 911, and we were the victims. One officer approached carefully, hand on his weapon. Becca was crying into my shoulder. I explained everything in a frantic rush. The officer looked skeptical until I mentioned Special Agent Victoria Reeves by name and showed him Dad's text. His expression changed. He radioed something coded, then told us to wait in his patrol car while he verified our story. 20 minutes later, black SUVs arrived. Federal agents. Agent Reeves, sharp-eyed, in her 40s, looked like she'd seen it all and was surprised by nothing. She wrapped emergency blankets around us, guiding us into one of the vehicles. "Your father is alive," she said immediately, and a knot in my chest, one I hadn't realized was there, finally loosened. "He was attacked in his hotel room tonight, but fought off his assailants and escaped. He's in protective custody and asking about you too. Your mother's associates failed to kill him, so they shifted to targeting you girls, probably hoping to use you as leverage to keep your father from testifying." Becca was sobbing harder now, relief mixing with exhaustion and trauma. "Where's Mom? Did you arrest her?" Agent Reeves shook her head, grim. "She fled the scene before local police could detain her. We have warrants out now for attempted murder, assault, fraud, and about a dozen other charges. Every law enforcement agency in the state is looking for her, but she's proven to be very good at disappearing when she wants to." The drive to the FBI field office was a blur of shock and exhaustion. We were processed, statements taken, everything recorded about the night and Mom's behavior. Food, coffee, blankets, they treated us like fragile things that might break with rough handling. Dad arrived around dawn, looking worse than I'd ever seen him. Bruised face, arm in a sling, moving like his ribs were broken. But when he saw us, he broke down completely, pulling us into a careful hug that made Becca sob into his chest. "I'm so sorry," he kept whispering, his voice raw. "I'm so sorry I put you through this. I thought I could handle it quietly. I thought I could protect you." The full, horrifying story emerged over the next few hours. Mom had been running a real estate fraud scheme for 5 years, using her license to launder money for a criminal organization. Dad had discovered it by accident, found communications that proved she wasn't just involved, but central to the whole thing. He'd gone straight to the FBI, rather than confronting her, spending 3 months secretly gathering evidence while pretending everything was normal. Tonight, Mom's associates had learned about his cooperation through a leak in the investigation. They'd sent people to his hotel to eliminate him. But Dad, paranoid enough to have extra locks and a plan, fought them off, escaped, and sent us that text. He knew if they came for him, they'd come for us next. "She was never planning to hurt you directly," Dad explained, his voice hollow. "She wanted to grab you before the FBI could use you as collateral to force me not to testify. But when you ran, when you didn't come home, she panicked. The woman who chased you tonight wasn't your mother protecting her kids. She was a criminal protecting her operation by any means necessary." 8 months later, the trial happened. Mom was finally arrested at the Canadian border, trying to flee with false documents and a huge sum of cash. The evidence Dad and the FBI gathered was overwhelming, documenting years of fraud, money laundering, and millions of dollars. Many people were charged, but Mom received the longest sentence, 25 years for fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder, and a list of other crimes that took the prosecutor 10 minutes to read out loud. She never looked at us, never showed remorse, never tried to explain. The woman in that defendant's chair was a stranger, wearing my mother's face. And I finally understood that we'd been living with a criminal our entire lives, just never knowing it. Dad testified for 2 days, his voice steady despite the visible pain, explaining how he'd fallen in love with someone who didn't truly exist, someone who had been performing a role the entire time. Becca and I live with Dad now, in a different state, under partial witness protection. Not full relocation or new names, but enough security that we can finally sleep without nightmares of SUVs ramming our car. We're both in therapy, processing the betrayal and the trauma, learning to trust again after having the fundamental safety of family shattered into a million pieces. Dad is rebuilding his consulting business and trying to forgive himself for not seeing the warning signs sooner, for exposing us to a danger he never even knew existed. What would you have done in my place if your whole world turned out to be a lie overnight? Have you ever had someone you love become a complete stranger right before your eyes? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I really want to hear your take.